Hello, the program is Stan the History Man, and I'm your host, Dr. Stanley Sandler. Today I want to talk about U.S. automobile fatalities over the years, but it's a story of good cheer, be of good cheer. Tell you why. In 1935, a guy named J.C. Furness, F-E-R-N-E-S-S, wrote an article in Reader's Digest called And Sudden Death, and he talked about the automobiles at that time and what death traps there. Let me give you an example. Here's a model I built of a 1934 Ford. Let's get it up here now. Yeah, 1934 Ford. And you can see, well, it's currently very high center of gravity, so it's easy to tip over. But another thing you can see, maybe here, is that there is no steel roof. The roofs of cars of this time were wooden slats, and then covered with canvas and then tarred over. So if a car did tip over because of the high center of gravity, the results could be catastrophic. Here's the meat of what I'm trying to say now. In 1935, about 30,000, let's see the exact figure here, 34,500 Americans died on the roads. At that time, the average car traveled 228.5 miles per year. So it's 35,000 or almost 35,000 people killed on the road and going about 228.5 miles per year. Now, let's have a comparison here. That's what history is all about, comparison. In 2016, there were 37.4 thousand deaths on the U.S. highways. So there really is hardly much of an increase, considering at the time we traveled 3,221 miles per year on the average American car, so on. I think this is a wonderful tale of improvement, of doing things right, getting things right. It's not just unique to the United States. I'm sure all developed countries have gone through this. We went through a horrible stage in the 19-teens and 20s of mayhem on the roads. The windows, the windshields were plate glass. They were not steel tops. All kinds of no sealed beam headlights. And so this article on sudden death had such an impact. You ought to read it sometime. You get a hold of a 1935 issue of Reader's Digest, which, by the way, had no ads in 1935. It's really a ghastly story. And Furness had a lot of credit. People who are involved in automobile safety and so on give him a lot of credit. Well, obviously, what happened in 1930? Up until 35, the death rate was going up. After 1935, it stabilized, and then compared to the number of cars we have and the number of miles we're traveling, went way, way down. And so we have to get a lot of credit for that. We think the auto safety thing started with Ralph Nader in the 1960s, but actually the idea of safety windows, sealed beam headlights, go back to the late 1930s, 1940s, and then we took another major leap forward in the 1960s with Ralph Nader. We pay thousands of dollars on our cars extra for those safety devices. We think it's well worth the effort. Just remember what a car was like. My 1952 Chev, my first car, had no seat belts, of course. The dashboard was steel and with all kinds of interesting little chrome nuggets here and there that would do a number on me if I went flying through the windshield without having a seat belt. The steering wheel was not collapsible. And so it was you could really say up until the 1960s, maybe mid-1960s, automobiles were death traps. Matter of fact, even turn signals only came on top of the line Buick Oldsmobile about 1939. What you're expected to do, I remember being taught this in high school, drive red, you roll down the window and stick your hand out to indicate left turn or right turn. I mean, imagine doing that in the dead of winter in Duluth, Minnesota. You're just not going to bother to do it. I would say European cars were advanced. They had these semaphores or signal flashers. You know, older Volkswagens had them for quite a while. So I think it's really a tale of progress and, you know, doing something right over the years, and the payoff, a tremendous payoff in reduction in the number of automobile fatalities, automobile injuries and that type of thing. Considering how many people died in 1935 and how many people died in 2016, it's like the same number, except far more miles were traveled. Well, that's Stan the History Man. I'm your host, Dr. Stanley Sandler. Thank you for watching and listening.